Ladies and gentlemen, I think this is important. I'm talking about two things. One, your own wealth and the wealth of your company. All right? So don't put aside your trading activity, how Labuan, IBFC or Labuan can help you with your tax planning and all that. We are not here. We are touching at your nerves today. What have you done to your asset and to your beneficiaries if on the way today, alhamdulillah, touch wood, you don't arrive there safely? This is the thinking that we have. Whether I have done it properly or not sure. Ada sikit. Because you always say, for the company, kita kerja 24 jam. For us, no time. All right? So if you're looking at wealth, ladies and gentlemen, tengok ni, business, property, vehicles, especially if you live in Labuan or you want to live in Labuan, then Ferrari and all that, at a going price. Cash, investment, and shares. Then, of course, how do you protect all this, the wealth you are there? The plan is, ladies and gentlemen, kita mesti ada satu plan supaya harta-harta yang kita ada ni, bila kita pass on, I think Giffin likes the word pass on. I use the word, why didn't we say when you die? He said, no, not nice. Pass on. It's good because you pass on. You pass on from dunia ke akhirat. Pass on. So how do you preserve your wealth? And what are the structures available, both under common law, which what Azrin called onshore, and what is available offshore in Labuan? And what are the instruments, ladies and gentlemen? So whatever you do planning ini, jatuh kepada 6 bubbles. Trust. We call it, orang Islam ni, hibah. All right? Power attorney, during my early days, when I was a public trustee in the early 70s, a lot of people do by way of will or power attorney. The Bali Hilly Bank owner was Yap Choi. I was fortunate to be the administrator for his estate as a public trustee. In Penang ni, we have a lot of tauke. Biasanya ada dia 3 bini lah, satu Penang, satu Ipoh, satu Alasta. That's how this is their operations. Ada yang a bit more adventurous, Kota Baru. That's why ada orang Cina di Kota Baru ni, cakap Kelantan very well. These are the remnants of orang Penang, tauke Penang. So that will, he wrote a will, he said, my property should be distributed, should be kept, preserved, sampai the last male grandchild. Chinese ni normally perempuan ni out. You only this man when he dies. That's why if you go to Penang, dulu kita panggil Northern Road, now Jalan Sultan Ahmad Shah, you will see a big Chinese palace, which is now used as the HQ for Open University of Wawasan. That was Yap Choi's house. The only house, palace found outside China. There's a replica in China. And in his will, he said that when his last grandchild dies, that building should be given for Chinese education. Okay, Wawasan Open University, Chinese kata saya, but they got it almost free, and they're managing it. So that was the olden times, will sahaja at that time. But now we have foundation, Labuan. I'll come a bit more. Then normally we take also insurance, and you need a family arrangement. I will come a bit more. What's next? Because the word legacy planning ini very big sounding word. Apa we want to do for our family when we are not around. Itu yang legacy planning. Some other, we want to give it out everything now, ataupun nasimpan untuk grandchildren. That's why this Labuan IBFC is now conducting a lot of courses, and the catchword today is multi-generational legacy planning. That's a new catchword for Labuan IBFC. Saya pun ikut lah. Alright? Okay. The reason why, ladies and gentlemen, orang Islam di Malaysia ada gelintir about 2 to 5%. Cukup kaya raya. I have a few friends who worked in Shell. Now they buka spek. Tahu tak spek ni? Satu syarikat tak ada modal, tapi dia dapat kutip daripada shareholders. First one it was Hibiscus Petroleum, it's already done. Now kita ada Click Petroleum. My senior partner is the chairman. He is sitting on 600 million ringgit every day ni, tak dapat tidur. What to do with the money? Then you have Sona Petroleum. They got close to 1 billion ringgit sitting in FD. Then you have Rich Petroleum. All these are ex-Shell, Exxon stuff. Bila they were all earning about 50,000, 100,000, per month. Today they are multi-millionaires. Because when the shares are listed, they buy the share at 1 cent or 10 cent. Listing 75 cent. And they own 5%, 10%. So now they are asking us, Tuan Haji, can you come and tell us, we got this big wealth. We don't want to give the children, you spoil them, How much can you give? If you give 50 million to your son, habis. You won't learn anymore. Today you will see him with a woman from the north. 6 months later, you have to go to South Pla. Papa, why? So people are now looking at planning. We will only give on what you call needs basis. Apa dia nak, kita bagi. So currently, I am pleased to say, we are working with, I don't want to advertise for Umaizi, with him. We have just set up a foundation for a Melayu who is blessed with 10 children, 6 daughters and 4 lalaki. All the lalaki were sent to South Africa, sekolah tapis. I asked him, Tuan Haji, why you sent to? He said, no. Sekolah tapis, so this yang hafal Quran ni, dia kata yang tempat-tempat lain run by charities. Tapi di South Africa, di orang Gujarat yang dia kaya raya. So they really run very good schools. So we are helping him, and we have just registered a foundation in Labuan as the holding company. You remember Azmi was talking about holding company and all that? We are there. So if you do all this arrangement, ladies and gentlemen, what do? You protect your beneficiaries, and you decide how you want to distribute. Tapi yang penting sekali ni, kita avoid family disputes. I give you a few case studies which we done before. Okay. Other one pula, save cost. If you cari lawyer ambil paper pun, you kena bayar. Kita ambil telefon pun, you kena bayar. So, but if you pre-plan, The initial, you have to pay fees, but after that it's all savings. And the process itself is, of course, is very fast. And what are the things that you can do? This is where I think I want to, since you all are entrepreneurs, and maybe you want to pass on your business or the benefit of the business to other generations, then you should be looking at business succession. So, ladies and gentlemen, as I was saying, that my topic is more to discuss about your wealth that you have in your own name ataupun in syarikat. All right, that is the beauty of it. And while touching that, since Labuan sponsors me, I also have to talk about Labuan. All right, but 70% is non-Labuan, is more for your information. All right, to give you a bit of awareness. That's why I must say shabash to Pradasama. Not only do you want to create wealth, but what you're doing is to preserve wealth within your members. I think that I must say shabash to Dato and his team for today. Okay? So we say here, when it comes to wealth management, settlers ni orang yang bagi duit lah. Macam patriarch, the mother or the father. Ada beberapa structures that you have to look at. And one is, of course, which is very common, is trust. The trust is used to pass wealth from one generation to the next. We will look at some of the examples. Okay. And the trust ini bukan sama. Will be tailor-made to your needs. All right, we'll look at that. We'll look at a few examples after that. Okay. But the trust, ladies and gentlemen, in Islam we call it hibah, because we also look at both Islamic trust as well as normal trust. Okay. Tan Sri Halim Saad, but I don't want to mention name. Bila dia divorced his wife, Bapa susah ni. Why? The shares were held under him, and the shares were held under his wife. But if there was some tax planning, then we say here that he will not be, this, all that can be removed, because your trust, once you create a trust, the property doesn't belong to you anymore. It belongs to the trust and the beneficiaries. Okay, it's interesting. And also we have one big tauke now fighting his wife in Kuala Lumpur, also in London. He could have avoided that if there was some tax planning. Trustees, ladies and gentlemen, is your choice. You decide. Till we are now doing one trust for one Tan Sri, she has appointed her two daughters and said, Tuan Haji, I am not comfortable. The two daughters may not be able to manage my wishes. So what would you recommend? He said, can Azmi Associates become a trustee? Of course, we cannot be a trustee because we are not a trust company. But we can lend one or two of our partners to be the co-trustees. And since the firm is, we expect the firm to be here for next 50 years, at least, then if that partner dies, there'll be a replacement. All right, that can go on. But yang mustahil tu, trustee dilantik oleh settler, not the court. Yang ini mustahil ni, the trustees have to act in the best interest of the beneficiaries. It's given. Why one MDB is having a big problem? people are questioning that some of the decisions were not in the best interest of the beneficiaries. If you look at yesterday's star paper, J-Lo and the company, he was not acting in the best capacity. All right? But the trustees are required to act in the best capacity. That's why in Labuan structure, which is first of its kind, they even have a protector to advise the trustees. You know, 2 months ago, we were asked by one major GLC, they want to create a trust fund, 1B and above. And he said, Tuan Haji, we are not sure whether our trustees will behave or not, you know, after a while. I said, we will borrow the protective mechanism of Labuan. Sabash to Labuan, you know, for creating that protector mechanism. So trust, you will see here there are 5 elements. You need a settlor, itu bapa atau ma. Then you have the asset, trustee. Then you need to create a trust deed, and you are the beneficiaries. Yeah. Terdengar? Okay, okay. Better, because I think the mic is a bit. Okay, now it's better, isn't it? All right, okay. Tak apa. Okay, so there are 5 elements in the. It's okay, no? Because it's. Boleh. Okay. Tak boleh tarik dah? Tak boleh tarik, Okay, tak apa. You don't want to tarik and then. Okay, tak apa. Okay. I don't know whether you have seen the advertisements of Amanah Saham National in the papers. They run 1 page and they show the property covered by snow. And then satu ASB, dia ada pukul dengan hammer, keluar. That is a strong message. If you have ASB, and if you do not intend to use it, then I recommend you go to ASB's office, you create a trust for your spouse and your children. The one you make for your spouse, tak boleh tukar, because they're not of your same blood. But the trust you make for your children, boleh ditukar anytime, because they are children. Or your grandchildren. Katalah I got 1 million there. I say I want to give my wife 300,000. Balance to my Anna and Chuchu in this one. Then I find my Chuchu is so successful. Then why I want to give it to him, you know? I can go back to ASB, tukar. The fee, so negligible. They actually take, you don't need to put in your money cash, they deduct from the dividend. So look at it, at least as a takeaway for today, I just want to tell you, go and see ASB or go into the website and you will find a tremendous method of working which is done by ASB. I must say sabash to them. We in Azmi Associates, we were trying to work out that, but some of the Sharia advisors who are so cautious say, itu tak boleh, ini tak boleh. ASB kata, semua boleh. All right? Because, you know, they are such a big, okay. So that is the first part. All right? Here, a trust that is created and takes effect immediately, this is the concept that ASB is recommending. Not only ASB, but all the unit trusts. When you buy unit trust, they will say you want to create a trust. I told her. What happened, as an example, let us say I have 1 million in the bank, and I declare, the money I have in the bank, I declare myself to the trustee, and the beneficiaries are so and so. I create a trust. If I die, or if there's any other, say, if I emigrate or, then there's a trigger event, a substitute trustee is appointed. That's why these people like Solohin and all that, they adopt this principle. Okay, that's one. Then you have A living trust. The first one says that if the person who creates a will die, trust will take out the amana saham, if you are still alive, the trust doesn't kick in. If you are no longer around, the monies are distributed as per ASB within 14 days of the death of the person. That's why I said the ASB, I think, has come up with a fantastic model. Then the other one is a testamentary trust, which you create in the wasiat. Because wasiat is only effective when the person dies. So it only evolves when the man dies. So that's wasiat. Okay, let's go back. Okay, this is, I call it the self-declared. I call it here not creditor proof because you are still the owner of the asset. Doesn't move. All right, that's why we say, but it doesn't require any probate. I mean, no need to go to court to ambe surat kuasa and all that. You require a trustee. The settlor can be the first trustee, replaced by substitute trustee upon a trigger event. Living trust. Living trust is hiba. All right. You declare that certain of my assets will be moved to a trustee, and the trustee will then manage. Labuan got some special features. I will touch that later. You will see here, it can be revocable or irrevocable, depending on certain circumstances. Okay, here. For orang Islam, kita tak boleh buat, ataupun we cannot give property to non-beneficiaries. Maknanya kepada isteri, kita sayang dia. Kalau saya meninggal, dia cuma dapat 1/8. Sijil Fraid, no, she looked after me so well, saya nak bagi dalam wasiat setengah. Tak boleh. Alright? You can do only 1/3, but to non-beneficiaries. Maknanya kepada anak angkat, charity, itu boleh. 1/3. Kalau buat dalam wasiat. But if you declare trust, you are not subjected to all this. Because you are giving up your money now. It is not coming after your death. Okay, here the characteristics. Kalau trust diwujud selepas meninggal dunia dalam wasiat, maknanya, you tahulah, if a person dies, who is the first person entitled to the property are the creditors. Kena bayar hutang dulu. Baki ni kita bagi kepada beneficiary. That is the main principle. But this is important. Wasiat ini kita boleh buat beberapa pun boleh. Today make a will, this is my last will. And then bagilah itu ni. 2 hari kemudian, isteri lawan dengan saya, I make another will. Boleh. Sah. Then kita dapat balik dah, okay, everything okay. Buat third will. Boleh. That's why we always say, this is my last will. But last will ini boleh dibuat beberapa kali. So the last will succeed. Kadang-kadang ada, if you go to court ini, ada orang kata ada 2 will. Mana yang last will? Siapa untung? Lawyer. Bukan kena case, kena high court lah, court of appeal lah, federal court lah. Start lagi, Alright? That's why it's important that these things are done properly. This is, I just bought a bit of bandingan. Declaration of trust, living trust, and testamentary trust. But this is something that I think we should look after. And this is also something that, because these two ni, we can see it through when we are still alive. Kalau nak buat pindaan itu ni, boleh. Subject to the powers in the trustee. This one ni kita tara lagi dah. So if it's not clear, there will be a lot of problems. We look at hibah. Hibah is the Arabic word, passing on. That's why, my staff want to use the word passing on. They don't want to use the word dead because they are influenced by the hibah concept. Okay. And here it means, you will see here, contract where someone gives his wealth to others without expectation of any contract exchange. Hibah ni. Kita boleh bagi kepada anak-anak, saya bagi harta ni tapi bila saya tua ni awak kena jaga. Bukan prinsipal hibah. Alright? Kita bagi saja. Okay, kalau yang meninggal itu, the hibah will not be part of the pusaka. Bukan hibah ni dah jadi dah. Transfer already done. Alright, that is the concept of hibah. So hibah ni macam ni. So hibah is actually a hibah and the trust and the declaration of trust. Okay. Alright. The other one is, how does the hibah ni? Sama. One is a declaration stating that he gives the assets to the beneficiary and he is holding the assets for the benefit of the beneficiary. As an example, when I have 3 sons and 1 daughter, daughter is the youngest, so I told my wife, I think we give the one property to the daughter. Because anak-anak lelaki semua dah kahwin dah. Okay. So my wife declared herself as the trustee, but during the lifetime, in the trust deed, she makan the rental. If anything happens to her, then the property will shift to my daughter. She will get the interest of the apartment plus the income. Itu boleh buat. Okay? Alright. It's not subject to fry it, sebab trust already happens. Okay? Alright. Legal structures, this is important. Now I'm coming to Labuan. How Labuan can help people. I've already mentioned that if you want to have a Labuan structure and pay the trust companies, you pay them in US dollars. You pay Azmi Associates in ringgit. Now US dollar at 3.75 dah sekarang ni. Now Rumaisi all are making a lot of money because in terms of ringgit ni. Okay. That's why we say, if you are looking at a Labuan structure, ladies and gentlemen, this also I have agreed with Dr. Aziz, who is one of the another Labuan specialists, that 10 million US is a reasonable sum for you to consider Labuan Trust. Kalau korang dapat itu, berikhtiar untuk your business grow to 10 million US. Alright? But you have a special need, you have a child who is disabled, then 1 million US pun, alhamdulillah. Alright? Okay. Special need. But for multi-generational issues, we are looking at a minimum of 10 million US. Alright? Okay. So you will see here, a Labuan Trust is governed by, there are some new legislation. I think Azlin gave a view as to this 1996. A lot of things happened in 2010. I think in 2010 there was a big transformation in Labuan legislation. Okay? And you find that for wealthy individuals, families as well as corporation, a trust is a good for their varied objectives. And here, a Labuan Trust is ideal for those who wish to assume control over the assets and business while accorded legal protection. We will discuss trust and this one afterwards. Okay. Why we say, I think this is already mentioned, tax efficient, shielded from firewalls, mean no one can have access because if you ask for any information from LOPSA, they won't give it to you because it is confidential. And is also flexible. And there is a lot of control as to how you structure. Whereas if you look at the Peninsular Trust, it's a bit rigid. All right, Labuan is a bit flexible. Okay, what is a foundation? Okay, here we have talked about a foundation. I think there was a question from Budasama. What is foundation? I think when I was first introduced to Labuan Foundation, saya pun keliru because I have created a lot of foundation, Yayasan Petronas, we did it, Yayasan Tenaga, also done by us, by Azmi Associates. So we have a lot of, so when we talk about Yayasan you can create under two mechanisms. One is under the Companies Act as a company limited by guarantee. All right, they got no shareholders, limited by guarantee. Minimum is you have to make a donation of 1 million ringgit, or you have a foundation under the Trustees Incorporation Act under the PM's department. All right, so you have two versions. That's onshore. Onshore means Malaysia. All right, Peninsula, Sabah, Sarawak. But you are looking at foundation. Foundation actually is a company in Labuan. They got a lot of companies. They got a Labuan company. They also got a Labuan Foundation. In terms of features, sama dengan Sedia Berhad. Sama. Okay. You will see here, similar, when managed by a foundation council, which a board of directors, and set up following a declaration registration on behalf of a founder. Foundation is a legal entity. Maknanya, it can sue and be sued. Okay. If it can also be a Islamic foundation, provided it subscribes to Sharia principles and appoints a Sharia advisor. All right? The trust companies, I think it makes no difference to them. They will register a foundation under Islamic principles. Okay, foundation, ladies and gentlemen. A flexibility for the benefactor and the beneficiaries, control over assets, protection of founders' assets against any claim by creditors or inheritance claims. All right, summer. Because once you transfer your assets to a foundation, no one can touch. Like if you are holding shares in a Sedia Berhad, the creditor can come after you if the shares are registered under your name. But you cannot do that in a foundation, because foundation is on its own. All right? So there are three types of foundation, ladies and gentlemen. I think Azmi was telling you that. One is a private beneficiary foundation, non-charitable or private purpose, or charitable foundation. I don't know whether you remember once when Mahathir was not so bad as now 3-4 years ago, he wanted to create a foundation. Because a lot of zakat money by Arab countries, especially Saudi, who decide who should spend? Not the Saudis, Americans. They will tell you, oh, ini more, this one cannot. They got FBI fellas sitting there in zakat office in Arab countries dictating what they should spend. So Mahathir was invited and he said, hey, can I give you some zakat? You bagi kepada orang miskin throughout the world. So Mahathir was looking at a foundation. We were trying to help them, but terjadi. But his first preference was actually Labuan Foundation, because it was created during his time. He knows the advantages. He did that. Of course, terjadi, but you will see that it was supposed to be a big launch for zakat funds. Unfortunately, terjadi with the oil collapse and all that. Saudi pun, they are not looking at anymore. So it can be a charitable foundation. Okay. The setting up a foundation ini $1 pun cukup. You cannot do it in ringgit. And the one that we are doing for our one, the Malay multimillionaire ini, he doesn't want US dollar. Dia kata halal, no, not haram. Bukan haram. He wants in Saudi Riyal. So we open the company in Saudi Riyal. All right, you are allowed. It cannot be in ringgit. Okay. It says here, This is important. A Labuan foundation must not include any Malaysian property unless prior approval obtained from the authority. Okay. The reason is, this is tax avoidance. All right. They don't want to have Malaysian property parked. You can, doesn't matter, but you get permission and you continue to pay Malaysian income tax. So it is not, therefore what we are saying is, we have been telling our people, for wealth management, you are not looking Labuan for tax efficiency, but for property preservation. So you will continue to, if you have, of course, if you have non-Malaysian assets, then you don't pay tax. But if it is Malaysian asset, you continue to pay tax. All right? Okay. Okay, this is income tax. We have said here. Income tax, I think this, Azlin has already mentioned a lot of this. You pay tax which is not Malaysian property. All right? If it is, if income is derived Malaysian property, then you continue to pay tax under the Malaysian income tax. Okay. Now, this is something that I think I just want to go a bit deeper if you are looking at Labuan Foundation for your preservation of wealth. Okay. A founder can be an individual or a corporation. We have done two, one through an individual. The other one is a Sendia Berhad creates a foundation. And the Sendia Berhad shareholders are the parents of the family. Okay? Because you will need a secretary, must be a secretary. I think there are 39 of them in Labuan. And there must also be a supervisory person appointed under the Labuan Foundation Act. There are council members and there are also officers. All right? All these are admin staff. Okay. The council members, macam our board of directors. Okay? And you will see here the council member may be a natural person or a corporation. This is important. Whereas the Malaysian Companies Act doesn't allow a company to be a director. But in Labuan, boleh. The beneficiaries, okay, this is important, may be a resident of or non-resident. All right, that's why you will see here 30% of the Labuan Foundation are set up by non-Malaysians. All right. Okay. The beneficiaries have no rights to the foundation, nor owed any financial duty unless stated in the charter or articles. So the beneficiary cannot sue a foundation asking this, asking that, unless their rights are given in the articles. So they just have to receive whatever is given to them. Okay. But a beneficiary who has a vested interest in a property, he can ask for information. Remember I told you about that Yap Choi? Actually, he wanted, if he had his way, he wanted to have the trust in perpetuity. But under the onshore law for Malaysia, our trust is only limited to 80 tahun. After that, you cannot extend. Because the law doesn't allow you to accumulate your wealth for the future. They say, spend now. Give it time, 80 tahun saja. You can plan. That's why he said, by the end of my last cucu, lucky to be distributed. Okay. Labuan is different. Labuan can be in perpetuity because the law says so. So if you are looking at multi-generational issue, like YTL now in the 4th generation, I think they'll be here for the next 10 generations. Al-Bukhari, now he's still in the 1st generation. We are not advising them, but they should be looking at Labuan. Okay? And the founder, you see, under the normal trust, if I'm the founder, if I keep all the rights to myself, then the trust can be disputed. It's not a trust. You are just putting it in a trust, but you reserve all the powers. All right? But in Labuan, you can reserve those powers. All right? So the founder has a lot of advantages in a Labuan Foundation. Confidentiality is given, and there's no state requirement on audit unless ordered by the court. Okay? Capital requirements, There are no minimum capital requirements. Re-domicile. After a while, you say, I don't want Labuan. I want to go to Cayman Islands. Or I want to move to Singapore, offshore. Boleh. There is provisions for that. Okay? And Labuan is a separate legal entity, and all the liabilities remain with the corporate liabilities of the foundation. Because the foundation founder become bankrupt, no one can go and touch the foundation. All right? Okay, ladies and gentlemen. So far, I give you some concepts as to what you should do. Are there any questions or not which you have? Then before I look at the 2 case studies which we were privileged to manage, I just want to share with you. No names there. Are there any questions, Dato'? Yeah.
Assalamualaikum Haji.
Yeah.
Saya ada satu soalan. Refer to the earlier slide. You have 2, 4, 6 instruments.
Yeah.
When you refer to one case in Penang,
dia
kata 10 generation. Will,
No, will. It's 80 tahun.
80 tahun. So the last grandson.
Yeah, correct.
Okay. Finally yang dapat adalah university, open university wawasan.
Right. No, got it. But the other assets were distributed to the beneficiaries.
Okay.
Yeah.
So how you choose the receiver?
Receiver, okay.
Itu yang nak tahu. Contohnya macam saya lah, manalah tahu one day jadi billionaire. How to
Inshallah.
make sure Azmi and Co will really pass to the right person without political influence ke apa. Because nanti saya kena ditanya di kubur ni.
Correct.
Okay, teruskan.
Any other question from any other thing before I answer that question? Yeah, go ahead.
Hello, Assalamualaikum. I had a few questions.
Yeah.
First, regarding the living trust, right?
Yeah.
Can the settlers be the trustee? Satu. And then can the distribution of the assets be put on until a trigger event? Because it's a living trust, right?
Yeah.
Let's say you don't want to distribute the asset first, and the settler want to handle the assets under the living trust until a trigger event. Let's say he died, baru distributed.
Yeah.
Then another one regarding the foundation, can the beneficiaries become the council member or the officers of the foundation?
Yeah. Okay. Thank you very much. Any other questions before I go on? Okay. First, coming to the first question of who decides the beneficiaries. Okay. This is where we call it the multi-generational legacy planning that's being promoted by Labuan. Looks at this issue. One, the one that we are now doing now, which is, as I said, it is still ongoing. We have just collected our second installment in terms of fees. Okay, is the man had 10 children. Okay. The council consists of 12 members. Mother, the parents, and the 10 children. So there are 12 members. If any son were to die, then one of the beneficiary, here, for instance, kisah lelaki perempuan, all right, will replace that member. So this council will be ongoing. Unless there is a tragedy where one council, no more beneficiaries, so that will be removed. Okay, but not likely. Not likely. So you will find that this council will end up, after parents gone, 10 members, that's a 10-member council will continue forever. All right? And the beneficiaries will be identified from time to time. That's why this, they call it the family office, the family council, is becoming very important. Okay? If you attend, I think, courses run by Dr. Aziz, as an example, he gives extensive coverage on how these are preserved. Okay, but mine, since in intro, I will just give you a bit of that. So, yes, it will be done. In terms of the living trust, there are 3 types of trusts. The person who asked at the back. Declaratory trust, I can be the trustee. All right? But living trust, no. I have to appoint somebody else. That's why you make a difference. Okay. But I can say that that trust, the property can only be distributed after I'm gone. Boleh. Like the example I gave you for my apartment for my daughter, that's what is happening. So I have transferred that property to my wife as a trustee to be held in trust for the daughter, but the daughter will only get the benefit when my wife dies. All right? Itu boleh. All right? Okay. Let us move on to some case studies, then you will appreciate what is in store for you. I think when you go back today, don't dream about it when you're driving, but when you reach home, think about this. Yeah. Yeah, okay.
Another one question.
What is that?
Whether the beneficiary can become an officer or council.
Okay. Can we answer? Can we get an answer from you? Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
To answer the question is actually the beneficiary can become either or council members or an officer of the Labuan Foundation. Okay.
I think generally, I think Azli and Co will tell you we all are very flexible. Summa boleh. All right. Subject to, of course, confirmation from the what do you call the trustees. Okay. All right. Okay. Now let me look at this. This is a live case, ladies and gentlemen. Okay. We have names are this one. Ali is Ali and Aisha is very popular name, so I use that. You will see Ali is a successful businessman. His wife passed away, leaving him with one daughter who is still in secondary school in London. All right, London is becoming very popular for Islam. Very popular. Okay. Ali is diagnosed with cancer at the age of 55, and he was taken care by an adopted son since he was ill. So you will see I am already coming to adopted son. Okay, adopted son ini dalam Islam not entitled under sijil fraid. Okay. Ali's mother, who is elderly, is being looked after by Ali. You know, she's living with him. Ali has two other brothers. Ali's father has already passed away. All right. Okay. How can Ali substantially benefit the mother, the adopted son, and his daughter to provide his legacy to them and exclude the two brothers? Why? If he dies tanpa wasiat, then under Sijil Hukum Syarah, the daughter will benefit, the mother will benefit. There is a residual issue to the two brothers. People asking now, why brothers kadang-kadang cakap pun tak ada lah nowadays, the relationship is so bad. Unless you come from a rich family, they try together, but if the income level is disproportionate, they all disappear. Okay? But he has to do a tax planning. So how does he do that? Actually, when I produced my first paper, I left it there, But Amira and group, no, Tuan Haji, you have to provide a solution. Otherwise, these people will go after me. Okay. All right. You see, according to Sijil Fry 8, you will see the mother get 1/6. That's why in Islam, the parents end up 1/3 of the property. Okay, when I was in public trustee, during the olden days, under the non-Muslim, if you have wife and children, parents don't get for non-Muslim. So people from MCA and MIC, they have been coming to public trustee, minta tukar. There were a lot of things. Okay. So the public trustee said, unless you all agree that part of the non-Muslim property will go to the parents, I will not amend. So they agreed. That's why now after the 1985, the Non-Muslim Distribution Act was amended to provide for parents to be given if they are still alive. They get a small share. But in Islam, sudah ada. Okay, in Islam, you will see here, the mother gets 1/6, the daughter gets is half, 1/3 goes to brothers. Adopted son, nil. Okay. So what he should have done at least? He could have done a wasiat. All right? Will contain the following: allocation up to 1/3 of his asset for his adopted son on any charity nominated by Italy. Remember I told you the Islam allows 1/3 of the property to be given away to non-beneficiaries. adopted son, non-beneficiary, charity, non-beneficiary. And he can appoint a trustee to take care of his elderly mother with suitable allocation up to 1/6. Itu tapa, because that she's already entitled to 1/6. Okay? To appoint a trustee for his daughter and to pay for the expenses up to half of the estate, he's already entitled to. So what is the best of that is that he takes care of 1/3 for his adopted son. The balance goes under the Sijil Frai. This is one way of looking at it. The other way will be estate planning. If he has come to see Azmi Associates or any other lawyer, we would have recommended to him this. He creates a trust here, a living trust here, the amount to be allocated at his discretion. How much you want to give. Okay? He created a trust for his mother. How much he want to give is his discretion. And trust to be created for your adopted son, the amount is his. The unallocated assets will become part of his asset, but if there's nothing else left, his brothers will be excluded. All right? So you will see, that's why we say, if you have special needs, you have a child who is not well, or you have, elderly mother, nobody will look after them, if you're gone, all right? Because, people have no time, even for your uddam. So what more to a lady who is bedridden, a lot of problems. Okay. That's one. Okay, that's a simple one. Eh? Now we come to more successful people in Pradasama. Ada dato sini ada, all right? So we are looking at a bit more structure, because otherwise Labuan will kill me. Why Tuan Haji, you never talk about Labuan? Okay, this is Labuan. Okay. So you will see here, Dato U, Datin K. Not the Dato K, eh? Dato U and Datin K. You will see here they are. And you will find Dato U manages construction business, which is booming now. And Datin manages leisure business. Some business assets are under personal names, and some personal assets are under company name. This always we find. Because sometimes you want to go and borrow money from the company. The bank say, oh, the company not enough sufficient income. But if you take your own, we'll give you loan. Then tapa. But it's company asset. That's why we have to restructure that. That's the first thing we do when we see people. They have 3 daughters working for the company, 1 son still studying in UK. Okay, this is Dato K sister and Datin K brothers, all are working in the company. Husband's also working, and the family has a few bungalows, condos, and all that. Dato U wish to distribution and the preservation of wealth with provisions for the grandchildren and beyond. They are not just looking at grandchildren; they are looking at beyond. Why? If you distribute all your wealth to your children, they'll be spoiled. One day they will end up like drug addicts, and you name it. Because wealth destroys morals. All right? So you have to create this preservation. So, and as good Muslims, they also want to establish a family waqaf. Okay. So what do they do? Well, this is a map. You will see it in your this one. So what is in store for them? Okay. First, we say, you have to transfer the assets from personal name to a company. Remember I said that some of the company assets on the personal names and some of the personal assets on the family names. And you can do the distribution. To whom and how much? Either to a lifetime by way of direct gift or through a living trust or after death through a will. Okay. What, like the one that we are talking to you where we have created Labuan Foundation, the parents decided to allocate money. Because, in today's property market, you want to buy a house in Bangsa, forget it. Link house costs you 2.5 million. If you want to move to Subanjaya, you're also catching up. 900,000. Shah Alam, 600,000. Can a young couple afford to pay? Of course they cannot pay. Prima satu, 10 tahun kena tunggu. All right? So what the parents decided, we will allocate 1 million ringgit each to the trustees with the direction, when my children buy a house, you pay 50% of the price. And they will also get a free car to the level of Honda Accord. That's immediate. So they have a house, they have a car. All right? Okay. Then the others, they have to live on dividends given by the company. And they have to work hard for that. Okay. So this is what we did. Then for future, you create multi-generational beneficiaries. Okay? How to do that? So some of the structures that you can look at is, we can look at Malaysian Trustee Act. The immediate needs of beneficiaries are cared for. Because for you, your children are your jewels. You know? All right? You want to look after them. Okay. The Labuan Preservation Act will be for business succession and preservation of wealth for future generations. You have charitable trust under the Malaysian Trustee Act and Labuan Trustees Act as well. Okay. So, ladies and gentlemen, my question to you is, when do you want to start your legacy planning? When do you want to visit Azmi Associates, or when do you want to go and see the trust companies? To make things easy for you, Azmi Associates will be having an open day on Friday, 12th of June at our office. My office is, I'll give you the address, between 10 to 12 or 2:30 to 5 p.m. I and my young lawyer will be there together with other associates to give you free advice, no obligation at all. All right, it's a CSR which my partner said, Tuan Haji, you can offer that. We'll provide some tidbits and also visit our corporate office in Jalan Bukit Bintang. We are opposite Pavilion. Okay. So you will see here then, you have to use advisors. Consider the Labuan Trust and Labuan Foundation if you are having wealth of 10 million US and above. All right. Ensure the validity and effectiveness of your legacy planning. Review your plan from time to time, ladies and gentlemen. Things are changing. The son you thought you will never succeed, can't even pass SPM, may find some innovative ideas and become a millionaire. Things can change. Your doctor daughter may be now, paralyzed. So things change. So you have to change. And trusted advisors, of course, may continue to play an important role in the implementation legacy plan. That's it, ladies and gentlemen. This is my contact address, and please remember the open day. Just send me an email to confirm
Haji,
whether you're coming or not. And
can ask
yeah,
a question,
yeah.
Okay, Haji, if we refer to your
Case study
number 2.
Yeah.
So there is one aim of the Datuk you and Datuk K.
Yeah.
To preserve the wealth.
Yeah.
Up to the grandchild
and beyond. And beyond, yes.
Okay, the word beyond.
Yeah.
Okay, I want to clarify on beyond part.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can we do a comparison with pembangunan Kampung Baru? Okay. For example, I already have land, and then we did this to keep that land forever because it's beyond.
Beyond, yeah.
Then government by force. I can say by force because we need to do development.
That's right.
Not sampai bila-bila macam tu. So in this case, how we preserve? Because the aim earlier is to preserve.
Correct, yeah.
So can you
okay.
give an explanation on that?
We can plan for preservation, all right? But because the land is situated in Kuala Lumpur, even though you have made provision in the Labuan structure, that my land in Kampung Baru will be held in trust forever, ever. But the law allows the government to acquire land. So in that case, that forever is gone. But what is kept forever will be the proceeds of that sale can be transferred to the Labuan Trust, and that fund will be kept under the forever provisions. All right? Because the respective asset is subject to acquisition, subject to sale and all that. You cannot stop that, Normally family homes, like what's happening in Singapore, by the will of Lee Kuan Yew said, as soon as they die, the house must be sold. He doesn't want to keep that house there living. He said he doesn't want to treat it like a shrine. But my living children will decide. And the daughter decided, I'm not going to sell. I will live there until I die. So for his will is now held in abeyance. All right? But all the preservation is subject to rules. But where it is possible, it will remain there. But it can be cut short. But the proceeds of that acquisition will be subject to Labuan Foundation. Okay. Yeah.
Tuan Haji, I have two questions. Okay, we are talking about the foundation and everything, so, but as you can see, Asia, especially Malaysia, we have husband married with 2, 3 or 4. Okay, in these cases, if let's say husband married like 2 wives, and the one wife, maybe they married in Indonesia or in other part of Malaysia, but it's considered a wife according to Islamic law. So in these cases, when they want to set up a foundation, of course, they want to put all the wife's name and the children's name, although they are not in talking terms or whatsoever, but it's being set up by the founder. So it's the right of the founder to put them in the foundation council whatsoever. That is one question. So how it can be related? Because just now you mentioned that it's benefit for the ladies. So okay, maybe in this hall ke ada juga yang first wife, second wife, third wife, whatever wife,
Itu semua berkat.
Itu satu, berkat. Because kalau orang dah kaya ni, so they can marry more than one if they afford to. Second question, all the rich men or the wealthy men, they married with more than one wife or whatever, and then let's say the first wife passed away, and all the properties belong to the first wife name, property in Malaysia or property in overseas. Now, when the wife passed away, of course, the wife maybe she do the will or she's not doing the will, but the husband's still there. So still the husband have control. So and the husband have another wife without the first wife knowing, and the wife is passed away. So so in these cases, how we can relate into this foundation and to make it benefit for all the rest of the family, grandchildren and beyond. Yes, thank you.
Okay, is there any other question apart from that? Okay, here is question of niyat, It's a niyat, niyat. The founder, he can decide for properties under his name or under his control, like the company. He owns more than 51% as an example. But if the property is in the first wife's name, unless he is able to pujo her to transfer to him, which is not likely, Malay women normally they won't transfer. I know that, because after I was a public trustee, I know. No Malay woman will transfer the property to the husband. So that property remains with the first wife. If she dies, the beneficiaries are husband, he gets 1/4, and the rest goes to her children. Okay. The one that we are having now, this the Dato with the 10 children, fortunately is only one wife. So, or setuju lah. Okay. If 2-3 bini pun tak apa. As long as the husband's assets, without taking into account the wife's assets, can be created foundation, and the foundation can consist of all the children, irrespective of from which wife. Maybe he may not want to bring in the wives as council members, because otherwise, there's a lot of problem all that managing, Rumah pun susah, macam mana nak masuk dalam council, Okay. But it can be planned and it can be managed, all right? Because the intention, I think the second and third wife should look at is, it is going to benefit their own chuchu as well, So they may cooperate in that instance. They may cooperate. Fortunately, unfortunately, Dato' Aziz is not here. He has handled one case where there are 2 wives. And the second wife is terror. First wife very docile. First wife got more children. Second wife got very little children. But can be managed. Because if the niyat, because that's why we spend a lot of time speaking to the key holders, not only to the husband, to the wives, to the children. Yamana Chuchu, who we know is coming up as Amir, we call it Amir, Amir. Then we also talk to him. And from there we can see that there is a desire to preserve this wealth for the next generation. And that next generation will include Chuchu from these first, second, and third wives. All right? So it's manageable. It all depends, husband being very strong and being fair and listen to advice from advisors, but not to the wives. All right. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen. And we don't want to give you time. School holiday pun dah start. Thank you all the bus.